Hey, we're cooking with gas here on the Jewcast.
Okay, careful using a phrase like that.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries of a sham.
Tradition!
Oh, shut up, Carl! Shut your goddamn Jew mouth! You people are why there's war in the Middle East!
Gekakkenaf van Jan.
Nebbig.
Ver poepoepoe.
Vermischt.
Verkakt.
Vertutst.
Verstonken.
Fartig.
Exactly.
You're what Grammy Hall would call a real Jew.
Alrighty, here we go again. Another Jew-packed episode of American Jew, episode 86 coming at you.
86! Wow, I can't believe it. Nothing can stop us, not even COVID, not even anti-Semitism. We're coming at you, Jew strong, Jew heavy.
Yeah, we got more Jew love on this podcast than they do in Europe currently.
Yes, things are not looking good for the Jews in Europe right now. I was a little shocked to read this, that the Jewish population in Europe is down like 60%.
Since 1970, there are 60% fewer Jews in Europe than there were, and that is crazy to think about. I mean, it's possible that people are just not answering the questions. You know, they're not identifying themselves as Jewish people.
Right, but they're saying it has more to do with assimilation. It has more to do with anti-Semitism forcing people out. It has more to do with Jewish people just not having as many kids as they used to. Apparently, like the super Orthodox people there are still procreating like crazy, but all the other Jews are taking it easy.
Yeah, it does seem that does. I mean, that's a thing of all religious extremists. I think, you know, they all seem to have a lot of kids. They're very against the birth control.
But, you know, that's, I think, one of the reasons why Jews are against assimilation. I guess this is being proven why now in Europe, because the Jewish population is going down so much, and they're saying like it's not going to go back.
I know. Well, we talked about this about a month ago or so, about how, you know, when you water down the Judaism, when you pass it down to the next generation, if you don't do it as hard as your ancestors before you, it starts to get watered down until you don't have any of the same traditions anymore. You know, I think that's one of the things that people talk about in terms of how people are becoming, even the Jewish population is becoming less Jewish by not adhering to a lot of the same things that we used to.
Right. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And, you know, a lot of these European Jews are moving to Israel.
And Canada. There's a lot of also moving to Canada, I read, as they say.
Okay, yeah, Canada's soon going to become the second largest population of Jews in the diaspora other than America. It had been France, but they're fleeing France like crazy.
I mean, you already said that you prefer Schwartz's deli to Katz's.
I never said that.
No?
I think that was Dan Natterman said that he preferred Schwartz's. I love Schwartz's, but I'm fucking Katz's all the way. I'm diehard Katz's.
All right, sorry.
Katz's for life.
My bad.
I love Katz's Deli, and it is probably one of my favorite places in New York City, and I have taken nearly every non-Jewish girl I've dated seriously there.
Nice. Well, I didn't realize.
Force that pastrami down her throat.
I didn't realize that insinuating that you preferred Schwartz's was hate speech towards you.
How dare you, Jordon? I thought we were great friends. You don't even know me at all. But Canada's better than the Jews.
It does seem that they are open arms.
In Belgium, we've talked about how they have all these anti-Semitic parades. They really apparently hate Jews in Belgium. In Turkey, a lot of Jews are leaving. Apparently, they think the government is becoming more anti-Semitic. Like all over, you know, the continent of Europe, Jews are fleeing like crazy. And, you know, a lot of them moving to Israel. And honestly, you know, I think we talked about this a little bit when we were talking about the Seth Rogen interview. But I have to agree with some of the sentiments that Seth Rogen said about all Jews going to Israel. Like, what? No, it's not good for us all to be in that same place. We need to be spread out, you know? We don't need to make it easy for our enemies. Like, here we're all here. You know, if they wipe out Israel now, they're wiping out, like, most of the Jews.
That's what people fear. I mean, that's why there are more Jews going there. That's, you know, that solidarity in numbers.
Yeah, I think this was a crazy to learn. I was shocked when I was reading the articles about how dwindling the Jewish populations are becoming in, you know, these European countries. Because there was a point where Jews were thriving in Europe.
I mean, it's crazy that it's swung so far to the other side now. You know, I mean, the fact that we've talked about this before about how after World War II there was a lot of more empathy for the Jews, after the Holocaust.
Right, of course.
And it has obviously waned over time. And now you have all these Holocaust deniers out there, despite the fact that there are still, that there are some media outlets that are going out of their way to condemn and ban some of that hate speech and deniers. The fact that stuff is still at the forefront of our news cycle is disturbing, and it's upsetting. But I think that's why a lot of this the people are fleeing Europe because of those sentiments. We've talked about it a lot. The fact that Belgium, is so openly anti-Semitic and doesn't come down hard enough to call out hatred and anti-Semitism. It's really scary.
This is happening. I mean, apparently the Jewish population in Europe now is as low as it was 1,000 years ago.
I mean, we've also talked about how there is also a growing Muslim population in a lot of these countries that has some pretty, somewhat anti-Semitic and anti-Israel, things that they talk about as well. I mean, that's part of why there's, I think, they've created so much extra tension between those communities.
For sure, and while we're on the topic of anti-Semitism, I know we've talked about this the last couple of weeks, but these Hasidic Jews in Brooklyn, I'm sorry, I've been seeing videos on social media, and what the Jews are doing, Jewish people call it a Chilul Hashem, and that's what it is. It's a Chilul Hashem because it's making Jewish people look bad, and they're crying anti-Semitism. I'm sorry, I don't see it as anti-Semitism. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. What they're doing is creating anti-Semitism by not taking COVID seriously and adhering to, wearing masks and social distancing. And now the fact that they're crying anti-Semitism is even making it more reason to be anti-Semitic, I think, personally. I think they're just like building anti-Semitism on top of anti-Semitism, and it's crazy ironic how they are creating all this anti-Semitism and accusing others of anti-Semitism. It's horrible. Put your goddamn mask on. This guy, Herschel, some radio personality that's become like their leader who got arrested. Like, this guy is a loser, and they need to drop him. Screw that guy.
I mean, the ultimate issue is that, just because there has been this continual Semitic push against the Jews, for our whole lifetime. We talk about it a lot, about how there's just more anti-Semitism. But the fact that they are not making any changes to their behavior to combat the coronavirus, like that, I mean, they are not being persecuted because of their religion. Like, it's not because they're Jewish that this community is being targeted. They are being condemned because they are not following the rules the rest of us are following. And they're creating dangerous situations and climates for the rest of us to try to have our life in. And I really think, because it has nothing to do with the religion. It really is about, this community of people that are putting everybody else at risk. And the
timing was bad with the religious holidays, but still.
It's not like the timing is ever going to be great.
It's very unfortunate what's happening. And maybe don't be burning masks in the street. Maybe don't be beating up other Jews and cornering them and calling them snitches and sending them to hospitals. I mean, this is just all horrible. And then to, be like, they're being anti-Semitic towards us. No, you guys are the ones that are, spreading COVID. They're trying to protect you. So anyways, boo for them. In more positive Jew news, though, Sacha Baron Cohen has another movie coming out, a sequel to Borat.
I like.
There's a lot of making fun of the Jews in this movie. He had an appearance on Jimmy Kimmel the other night where he was saying that the Jews spread COVID. But I hope people understand this, that he is making fun of anti-Semites is what he's doing. He's making fun of anti-Semitism. Right. Sacha Baron Cohen has been on record so much against Holocaust deniers, against anti-Semitism, against, the truth being considered fiction and fiction being considered the truth. And he's really bringing it to light. And he's a mensch, and he's really, I think, a good person for the Jewish people to have, a good representation where he could make it funny and also enlighten people about how ridiculous and how dumb anti-Semitism is.
For 100%. I think that he's so good at exposing the hypocrisy and the ridiculousness of it. And I got to say, the older Borat stuff, from the TV show, the throw the Jew down the well thing that he did in Arizona, these are ways that you expose the ridiculousness of it and shed some light on the parts that are problematic within communities where they might not see that they are anti-Semitic.
Absolutely.
And I think that, the fact that he's Jewish, so it's hard to make the argument that he's anti-Semitic, but I have to say, that the fact that they tried to cancel him a few years ago, the whole cancel culture thing, because he's so outrageous. But, the fact that he's able to do this second movie without having been found out, I guess, is kind of amazing. The fact that he's been able to fool so many people into exposing their own ignorance towards some of these issues is why he's so popular. I think why he really nails some of these issues pretty head on. It's hard to beat.
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to watching it.
And apparently, it's going to be free on Amazon Prime starting Friday.
Yeah, so that'll be good. So check that out.
That is exceptionally good news.
Yeah, so we got more good news is the guests that we have on this week.
Yes,
I can't believe we got her, Emmy Award winner. She's been in television shows, movies, very successful stand-up comedian, author, Jew, and somehow we convinced her to come on the show, and we're thrilled. So we're gonna have Judy. Come on, Judy.
Hey, Jews, what's up?
Hello there.
Hey, Judy. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Jew.
Oh, we love it. That's a good musical opening we should have.
Wait, look, I got to show you something. That's right!
Nice.
Challah. Did you bake that
homemade,
yourself?
Yes, that is my homemade challah.
Nice. Well, was it Rosh Hashanah, Sukkot?
No, this was a few months ago.
Oh, okay.
It was the most presentable one.
Yeah, when's the last time you made a fucking challah?
Oh boy,
I never made one. It looks great.
Yeah,
It's making me hungry.
Yeah. All right, don't try to make
some matzo ball soup right now.
Oh, okay.
Well, somehow we got Judy Gold on the show. I don't know how we did it, but we're very excited to have her on.
Here's the thing. Here's the reason you got Judy Gold. Anything with the word Jew in it, except for Hasidic, the Hasidic Jew podcast.
Right. Well,
okay,
that one.
Yeah, we were just trashing them.
Can I just say something? Are we recording?
Yes.
Okay. So I was in New York last week because I'm in Provincetown. I have a house in Provincetown. So I've been staying here. So I go to New York last week because, I'm a Jew and I had to go to the podiatrist. And I had, what other doctor? I went to the dentist. I did my stuff. And one night we met friends to eat outside on Broadway because that's the only entertainment there now is right. Restaurants in the middle of the street waiting for a truck to come. So, and maul them over. So we're sitting there and it was Shemini Atzeret and all these young Hasidim, pretty sure they were Hasidim, not Lubavitch, and they were walking down the street, no masks, singing. And, you worry about anti-Semitism and the rise of anti-Semitism. This behavior is what feeds anti-Semitism because there are people around this country who don't realize, those people are not American Jews like we are, and they think that behavior, and it's like, and the other thing I was thinking, you'll wear a fucking wool coat in August and you won't put a mask on? I mean, seriously.
Yeah,
it's true. No, absolutely. That's the exact opinion that we have, and we think it's even worse that they're crying anti-Semitism when they're creating anti-Semitism.
They're doing it, and it's like, oh my God, it's so upsetting.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Speaking of anti-Semitism, I actually performed with you at the City Winery Seder a couple years ago, and you did this amazing thing with Trump and Dayenu.
I do Dayenu every year for them.
Okay, it was so hilarious.
Thank you. I usually do like whoever's big in the news or what the zeitgeist is, and I've done Bernie Madoff. I've done, who was the one who cheated in the French bicycle race. Whatever the hell his name.
Lance Armstrong?
Yes, I did Lance Armstrong. But Trump, I think I've done like twice in a row because it's like you can't get away from it.
Right.
Unfortunately not. I mean, Judy, there's a real back and forth in the Jewish community. Is Trump anti-Semitic? Is he not anti-Semitic? What he says is anti-Semitic. What he's doing for Israel, people think is not anti-Semitic. What's your opinion on it?
Okay, so here's what I think. You know, he is 100% an anti-Semite. Okay. I know his niece, Mary. She can confirm that he is an anti-Semite. What is an anti-Semite? You know, you're saying, oh, because his son-in-law and his daughter and his grandkids. No. Maybe they're not anti-Semites.
Right.
But the language he uses, the way he's, you know, it's like, I'll surround myself with these Jews because they're good with money. Or, look, he didn't restrict us from, you know, moving into his father's properties because we're not black, but
right.
To say that he is not he would never speak anti-Semitic tropes or anything, that is just, you know, we have this idea that if someone comes to our business or is, you know, it's just the same thing. I have a black friend, but right. They're not like the other black, you know, he is his father was an anti-Semite. He is a fucking I'm sorry. Yes, he moved. Everything he does is for his own purpose, to feed his own ego. Jared Kushner being in charge of Middle East. I mean, what the fuck? I mean, I can't.
I know. If you tried to write this as either a comedy or as a horror, like you would never come up with this number of things that he has done.
Here's the big question. There's hypothetically, God forbid, another Holocaust. Do you think he's hiding Jews in his, you know?
Yeah, no.
In the basement of Trump Towers?
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
Absolutely not.
Right. So.
In fact, when religious Jews are telling me, oh, but he's good for the Jews, look at what he's doing for Israel, I'm like, yeah, he's making it okay because he's going to send us all over there.
And also, you don't live in Israel. You don't live in Israel. And Netanyahu is so terrific?
Right.
No. But I am a supporter of Israel. I think Israel's great. But, you know, I criticize our leaders and our government, and it's as if you criticize Israel's leaders and their government, you're an anti-Semite or you're a self-hating Jew. And it's like, no, they have problems too. But I believe, you know, that Israel has contributed to this world, the entire world, so much. And if people are going to be so anti-Israel and anti-Semitic, then you should live without all of the contributions we have made as far as, you know, your cell phone, your clean water, science, cancer treatments. I mean, like everything, fucking thing.
We even made all the best Christmas songs.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. So.
Well, for sure. I mean, we always talk about that as such a problem that people just want to, you know, put together any criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism. And that doesn't really do a service to the Jewish people, or when things are actual anti-Semitic, which is happening like crazy all over the world, you know, higher than ever.
There's so
right
much anti-Semitism. And then, yes, he moved the embassy to Jerusalem. Okay, great. You got, you know, but that just doing that doesn't mean he's not. It's like it was good for him. It was good for his supporters. It was good for the you know. No, sorry. You know, look at the public school system. We started the public school system. The Jews. We were founders of the NAACP. Where are those Jews?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, we talk about this on the show a lot about how the Hasidic Jewish community, the very, you know, ultra Orthodox, haven't really gone out of their way to do us any favors, to do the Jewish community a lot of favors by trying to help educate why we do a lot of these things. And the fact that there are so many that are going maskless, that are, you know, not really following the guidelines.
Yeah, what happened to Tikkun Olam? What happened to Tikkun Olam?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of it's so hard to defend practices.
Right. It's like your Catholics or your everyday Christians, comparing them to evangelicals. They're like, no, I have nothing in common with them. They're hypocrites. I believe in Jesus's teachings, and that's how I live my life. Just like we believe in the Talmud and Tikkun Olam and those teachings, not living as if it's 1860 or 1860 AD, B, whatever it is. What is it? Or, all right, I'll do it. They're living like it's 2771. But it's just, it really, it's so, because there's so many Jews who were like, well, he's good for Israel and he's good for the economy and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, there's kids in cages. There's a pandemic that's mostly killing elderly people and marginalized groups such as, African Americans, Latinas, and, Native Americans. And, he's 100% a white supremacist. And so is Stephen Miller. Like, Stephen fucking Miller.
Yeah.
He is a disgrace, even to his family. So it's like, it's so hard. Yeah, okay. You like him because, he's good for Israel but he's a horrible person. He is a horrible person.
100%. He's the worst.
And you just forget that because he did one thing that you like?
No, for sure. And it's like, how are you people standing and supporting somebody who has riled up white supremacists, who has riled up all this Jew hatred? And it's like, you guys and Nazis are voting for Trump, and it's crazy.
Right. There's good people on both sides. They were reciting horrible things. I mean, but they're good people. Stand by, stand back. Look, what a lot of people don't understand is that as much as there is racism, and there is really bad systemic racism, they hate us the most. They hate us the most. And, my mother would always say, the minute you leave the room, they're going to call you a dirty Jew, and they hate you, and they hate you, and they can act like they're your friend, but they hate. And I was like, Ma, you're crazy. But she was right. She was right.
It's true. And Trump, they said he said stuff like that, like, oh, he's going to lose another one of his kids to the Jews, or they stick together. They only look out for themselves. And, Israel's
and you know how to
country.
Make a deal. And he's awful. And the tenets of Judaism, seriously, what we believe in, repairing the world, he's dividing we can't even go anywhere. No one wants us.
It's really insane.
It's true. He has nothing to do with the values that Jewish people have.
Right.
It's crazy to me that so many Jews are supporting him.
I think it's
Judy,
crazy.
Have you ever experienced? I'm sorry, Jordan.
I just think it's also crazy that he has, seemingly boiled down almost every American Jewish person's sole issue in this election to be how we deal with Israel, and that's just not the case. I mean,
right.
So many
it's
other
not
issues.
the case. Exactly. And I love Israel. All these people who are anti-Israel, the people who, our Congress people who, have Palestinian maps up and this and that. Go to Israel. Go. Have you ever been to Israel? Have you been to Israel as a woman? Have you been to Israel as a member of the LGBTQ community? It's so interesting that if you have Israel on your passport, you cannot go to so many other countries. You're not allowed in. And yet Israel allows other people in. There are Arabs on the Knesset. It's women are equal. Women serve in the military. There is a gay pride. There are so many great, they're not perfect. Neither are we. No country is perfect. It's the tiniest little country. It's a democracy. Without Israel, God only knows what Iran would have done years ago to us, and Iraq and all, do your due diligence. There's some problems there. There's problems with the land and this and that, but do your due diligence and stop with the, we're horrible people. But look where you live and what they're doing. It's to immigrate. I can't. There's so much there, and it just fucking drives me up a wall. Yes. Now, Jonathan was going to ask me if I.
Judy, have you ever experienced anti-Semitism?
Jonathan, are you fucking kidding me? It is constant. It is constant. As a gay, you'd think I'd be being called a dyke all the time. It is the amount of anti-Semitism I get on social media. Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. I mean,
would you say you get more anti-Semitism than homophobia?
Oh, 150 million%.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, in my book, yes, I can say that when they come for the comedians, we're all in trouble, which I talk about the Jews a lot because I'm such a Jew. Oh, someone wrote to me, they should have another Holocaust just for you.
Jeez.
Judy Gold is a hypocritical Jew cunt.
Oh, yeah. This is the acknowledgments page.
Yes, that is. Those are the pull quotes. Those are the pull quotes for the back of the book. Yeah.
These are the blurbs on the back.
Yeah.
Right. How about before you were in such the public eye, like growing up, did you experience much anti-Semitism?
I did. I mean, I didn't personally. I grew up in a town in New Jersey, and we moved there in 1968, and it was very thriving Jewish community. And my parents, my mother loved being a Jew. We had, kosher, there were a lot of practicing Jews. We all lived in most of us lived in a neighborhood with Italians, but they had a KKK. And first of all, the town was all white. I moved from Elizabeth, New Jersey to Clark, New Jersey. The town was all white. And I remember in high school asking at one of my parents' barbecue, why do we live, like, they're so racist here? And I remember one of my parents' friends saying something about the value of the houses going down, and I almost fucking punched his face in. But we had, they used to light crosses at the high school in the football field. I mean, it was ridiculous. A couple of times I was in synagogue. Remember one time they were shooting BB guns. We thought it was gun. We had to go underneath the pew. But, they knocked our fence down when we first moved there. But, I was so young, so I didn't realize it. But my mother would always want me to hang around with the Jewish kids, the kids in Hebrew school. And they were very, they had a clique and they were really snotty, and I didn't really like them. But my mother was like, constantly, you have to be friends with the Jews. You have to be friends with the Jews. And most of them weren't that nice. So I had a lot of non-Jewish friends. But every now and then you get that ping where someone would say something like,
Yeah.
You're out and they're like, well, well, because they're Jewish then. I'm like, no. You're not allowed to say that. It's not true. So there were definitely,
a very nonchalant usage of the word Jew as a verb.
Right. Recently, this is really interesting. We were at so I played tennis here because I'm a Jew. No. So I played tennis here, Elisa and I, and we went out. So these two women who really nice. So they invited us on their boat, and we go on the boat, and we're we don't know them that well, but we were talking about growing up, and one of them was talking about, I lived in this one neighborhood and it was so great, and then we moved. I guess she moved to a higher income neighborhood. She goes, it was so friendly in my other neighborhood, and then we moved to this other house, and it wasn't the houses were bigger and it wasn't that friendly, and it was just different. And I guess Elisa, I don't know, someone asked, well, what was different about it? And she said, the people were all different. I said, what kind of people? And she said, politicians and Jews. And then she was like, oh my God, and it was, and then she was like, I don't even know why I said that. And it's like, well, I do, but it's so ingrained in some people, and you do wonder, I mean, don't you wonder if it happened again? Like, I wonder. And you see, like, right now, don't you feel like I remember as a kid, I was like, how could that ever happen? You know, I could never imagine it happening. I can imagine it happening. Like, I shouldn't be able to imagine, you know what I mean? Yeah. I can see people being complicit. I can, you know, I don't know. It's such a scary
Why do you
time.
think that of all the bigotries, it seems like anti-Semitism and Jew hatred is more like socially acceptable for some reason?
It's the original.
It's the original.
They've tried to obliterate us so many times, and we have survived. And we're influential. We not only have survived, there's so few of us, and yet we're so influential when it comes to so many issues and theater and the art. I mean, think about it. I mean, look, we're Jews. I mean, when I watched TV with my parents, it was constantly, anyone would come on, Jew, married a Jew, converted, anti-Semitic. You know, that's the way that's the way I grew up. And I am always shocked when I don't know, when something's happening. Look at the Supreme Court. It was Kagan, whatchamacallit, Ginsburg. That's 2 out of 9. Who else? Isn't there another one? No. Merrick Garland was a Jew. There would have been 3. I don't know. Look at Nobel Prize winners. It's just.
Oh, for sure. In science, too, and like in medical
beyond,
fields,
doctors,
like, Jews are always
experts.
Doing good work.
You look at all the experts and journalists and educators and thinkers. And I'm not saying there aren't others, but for the amount of people we are, I mean.
Percentage-wise, we're doing very well.
I would say very well, Jordan. Very well.
Now, Judy, as a member of the LGBTQ community, have you feel like you've experienced a lot of, you know, problems being a Jew and from the Jewish community?
Good question. That is such a good question. I was thinking about this before when you asked me the anti-Semitism question. So when Henry, first of all, I lived on the Upper West Side, and at one point in the building there was so many families, and there were some Orthodox families, and they used to call us the kosher lesbians. And I remember when we were looking for, where do you guys live?
I'm in Brooklyn.
I live in Nolita, and Jordan lives in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay, so we were looking for grammar school. You know the whole grammar school. It's not like normal where you go to the local grammar school, then you go to the middle school. So we were looking for grammar schools for Henry. And we went to Heschel, because everyone's like, go to Heschel. They're such a great education, and they're so open. So we were like, okay. So we went on the tour, and the whole time I'm thinking, I don't want my kid going to school with everyone who's exactly like. That's not my whole, But so. At the end, the principal was standing there, and we said, so this is what? I guess it's about 2001. And the principal's standing there, and there's a line to ask her questions, and then we get in front of her, and we said, hi, we were wondering if you have any other families with same-sex parents, and how you feel about that, or, what your philosophy, whatever. And she said, we do not. And if you feel that this is the right place for your child, you're welcome to apply.
With that face.
Kind of snotty.
Yeah.
I took the fucking thing and I threw it in the garbage, the application. And, Jews who are racist, Jews who are homophobic, Jews who are xenophobic, it's such fucking hypocrisy.
Yeah.
It's so bad. My synagogue has been, I go to B'nai Jeshurun on the Upper West Side. They've been amazing. Yeah, I mean, it really depends on what kind of Jew you are and what kind of shul you go to. My neighbor, he's the godfather to the kids, he's in his late 80s, and he goes to one of these, the basement of a brownstone.
Okay. And
it's like the women barbed wire, basically. It's so... And he doesn't care, but his congregants are like, ew, you're, it's just ridiculous. Who the fuck are you to judge? I don't know. It's so ridiculous. I can't even, but yeah, it's,
have you done shows where you've had to perform for, segregated audiences? Because I've done shows in temples where the men and the women are separate.
Oh, no, absolutely not. I did, it's funny. When I performed in Israel, they were like, listen, don't be gay. It probably
don't be gay.
Yeah, don't do the gay material as if my entire act is, I'm a lesbian. Like that. I hate that shit. They're like, I don't know if I would talk about that unless you're in Tel Aviv. And I was like, I wasn't planning on talking about it, but fine. And I was just doing my act. I mean, I have so many Jew jokes. I have so many jokes about my mother, and especially then, she was still alive then. And an article comes out in the paper. I don't know, the Jerusalem, whatever. And literally, lesbian comedian, Judy. And I was like, what? I'm a comedian. I happen to be a lesbian. I wasn't even talking about, you know what I mean? It's beyond.
Yeah. What do you think Jewish communities and Jewish people could do to make the gay and lesbian community feel more included and be more inclusive?
The only thing you can do is have a gay kid and have a gay, I mean, that's the only thing that seems to change these people's minds. That is such a good point, because so the kids got lice, right? This is a very common public school thing. So one year the kids got lice, and I used to do a bit about this in my act, and there were these women, Orthodox women, called the lice ladies. And this particular one was called Lice Advice. And they were ultra. And they would come to your house and pick the lice out of the kid's hair. And they would come back as a follow-up, and they would put, their formula. And they were amazing. So this woman comes, and she comes into our house, wig, long skirt, everything. And she says, I said, this is, Henry and Ben, and this is, we're gay. I'm sure I didn't say we're gay, but I said, this is his the other mother, whatever. And so we got to talking, and at one point I said, do you think there are any gay people in your community? And she said, I'm sure there are. And I said, it's really sad, whatever. I don't know. And she said, after meeting you, like I can't imagine ever disowning a child. You know what I mean? Ever, seeing the love and then on their follow-up visit, they invited us to Shabbat dinner.
Wow.
In Borough Park. I mean, there's so much more we have. I hate this when people say this, but there's so many more similarities we have. I brought my kids up with Shabbat dinner on Friday night. I love being a Jew. Who the fuck are you to tell me that I can't be a Jew because I love someone of the same gender? And that's my orientation. I was born that way, I think that when you stop letting a book tell you how to think or feel, then, maybe the world or the interpretation of a book, come on. But yeah, I think it's when you realize your son or your daughter or your niece or your nephew or your brother or your sister or your aunt or anyone, that's the only way to change it.
Only way to change it, for sure. I mean, you obviously, Judaism is a big part of your life and your identity, but how do you come to terms with the fact that, in the Bible, it speaks poorly about Judaism, or the religion itself doesn't have the nicest things to say about homosexuality?
Right. I don't, okay. I don't take that. I don't subscribe to that. I don't have to believe every friggin' thing, You take I am a Jew. It's in my fucking DNA. You can't take that away from me. When I did my show, I did a one-person show called 25 Questions for a Jewish Mother, which also became a book. But, I went all over the country, and I cannot tell you how many kids brought their parents to that show and then came out to the parents later. How many parents came up to me and said, you know what, my daughter's gay. I remember one in Florida when she was like, I don't know what to do. My daughter's gay. And I'm like, there's nothing for you to do. And she's like, I know, but what about, and it's like, it's not about you, and all these people would come up to me and say how the show, I remember really Orthodox kids saying, I came out to my family and they disowned me. And after seeing your show, I realized I can have both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
awesome.
I don't think my rabbis believe that. And look, Judaism is all about interpretation anyway. So I interpret that differently.
Was it difficult for you when you came out to your family?
It's so funny because I came out to my sister in therapy, and she was like, oh my God, she freaked out. And I'm like, really? And she's like, don't tell mommy and daddy, blah, blah, blah. My father died when I was 27. He had asked me, and I was like, I remember I wasn't ready to tell him. So he never knew for sure, but I'm sure he knew. And now that I'm a parent, it's like, Anyway, so my mother was taking care of me because I had sinus surgery. I did not have a nose job, obviously, but, and I had friends visiting me, and it slipped out of their mouth, and then they left, and my mother was like, I knew it. But, and meanwhile, she would come over. This is pre-cell phone. She would come over, and we had one room with a queen-size bed and 2 alarm clocks on each side of the bed. And then we had another room with a twin day bed. And she would come and visit and go, oh, I'll sleep with you so I don't kick Sharon out of her room. I'm like, Ma, you're not kicking Sharon out of her room, okay? It's a day bed, and there's no alarm. Duh, So after they finally just said it in front of her, then it was out in the open. My brother, no one in my family ever cared. They didn't. It was interesting because when Henry was born, so my ex had Henry and I adopted him. My sister got married when Henry was like, I don't know, I guess she got married in June or July. So he must have been like 9 or 10 months old. And my neighbors, the ones I told you about, the Orthodox neighbors, so they were at the wedding. And my aunt says to them, well, how do you know Jane, my sister? And they said, oh, we're Henry's godparents. And my aunt, I think it was my aunt or my mother's best friend, said, who's Henry? And I was like, Ma, that's it. If you don't tell people, and they were so upset that my mother never said, oh, Judith, that's why my album of that is called, that time period is called Judith's Roommate Had a Baby. Judith's Roommate Had a Baby. And so, yeah, I realized, you cannot be it's so important to come out. And it's so important that everyone knows that they know and love a gay person, even if they don't think they do, that everyone knows a gay person.
Yeah.
So what would you have anything to say to, people, you're obviously such like a strong figure in both the Jewish and the gay community, to people that are struggling right now to come out to their Jewish parents, or, being conflicted with, who they truly are because of Judaism?
I do. I think that if I could talk to kids like that, I would tell them that they are perfect exactly the way they are. They were born this way. It doesn't, you're not less than, and you can have it all. You can have a family, you can have a partner, you can live a Jewish life. You are just as valid. You deserve to live with dignity, and your parents, it's so funny when people are like, your parents didn't ask you to be born. They didn't, it was like you were born and that's who you are. And if they can't accept you, that is their problem. That is their loss. And that's why so many gays, and especially gays of my generation, had to create their own families because we were shunned by our own, especially during the AIDS crisis. I mean, the AIDS crisis, unfortunately, was, I think, the catalyst for marriage equality, because you saw these people that were together for 30, 40 years. And at the end, the family would come in and say, you're not related to him. No, you can't have any of his stuff. No, you're not living in the apartment. No, you get, and we were never protected, but I would just say there's so many congregations that are willing to, embrace you with open arms. And you're not alone. There's so many people like you, and that is your parents' problem, not yours.
Well said.
Amen.
Amen.
Nice. Well,
did you have a
bar mitzvah, Judy?
I had a bat.
Yeah,
bat mitzvah.
What's the matter?
It's all right. I don't know.
What is wrong with you? I had a bat mitzvah, and this is how my mother was. I'm just letting you know. Everyone in the town would have bar and bat mitzvahs, and they have big parties afterward. Their Saturday night, they'd have a big party. My brother was bar mitzvahed, and then afterwards, that afternoon, everyone came over to the house for brunch. My sister was bat mitzvahed on a Friday night. We had to do it on Friday night, and we only had a Haftorah. I have since read out of the Torah as an adult, but she had it Friday night, and then we had dessert at the synagogue afterwards. And I had the most elaborate bat mitzvah. They had dinner at the synagogue, and then I had the bat mitzvah, and then they had coffee and dessert afterward. And I was like, Mom, I'm already unpopular, and we're doing this. And she's like, it's not about the party. It's about I'm like, oh my God, what? Yes, I was bat mitzvah. And we had a sukkah. We had my mother, Jewish.
So, but not a big how to do on the party. Not really a theme.
Wasn't about the party.
Right.
It was about the, becoming a woman.
Right. So I'm assuming you didn't invite too many of your friends to that bat mitzvah.
I did, and I didn't have that many, but a lot of them were like didn't come, or I was not popular. But I have to say, my bat mitzvah was my first real live performance, and I killed.
Yeah,
you killed. Nice.
Yeah.
Listen, that's why I always say I'll always take a good temple gig, because even if I bomb, at least it's in English.
Right, exactly. I'll do the jokes. Okay, go ahead.
Did your kids get bar mitzvahed?
Of course.
Yeah.
They went to Hebrew school. They both were bar mitzvahed. Yes.
Did you give them a bigger party than you had?
Absolutely. Yep. Henry had we had a really nice lunch at a restaurant. We had a Friday night thing. And then at a kosher, Mediterranean, whatever place. And then after his bar mitzvah, everyone walked to this amazing restaurant. And they had a kids' party downstairs and then adult party upstairs. And then, for all the out-of-towners, everyone came over later and drank or whatever. And then, but Ben, we gave him a big party because his birthday is August 9th, and he never had a birthday party because he was always in camp. So we had a Friday night thing at an Italian place, and then we had a little luncheon afterwards, nice luncheon, and then we had a big party at the cutting room with like a DJ. Nice. And
How do your kids feel about Judaism? Are they like excited about it and into it, or they're like, oh, Mom, do we have to?
Henry is way more Jewy than Ben. Ben plays basketball for Tulane. And, I used to take Henry to shul every Saturday. And then Ben was born, and then all the sports things started. They're both very Jew identified, but Henry's more, he won't eat pork. He won't eat shellfish or anything. I mean, he acts like he's really kosher, but I'm telling you right now, he'll have like a milkshake and then 5 minutes later have a hamburger. So I'm like, Henry, that's not. But Henry I don't think would ever marry a non-Jew. Ben, I don't think he knows he's a Jew. He says I'm a Jew. But he's more not into the,
It's not as important to him.
And he doesn't, I don't know.
Would you care if they marry non-Jews?
Yes, I would. And I shouldn't because I'm a lesbian, but I just think it's easier. And I just think I don't know. And I believe in our existence. I would really prefer keeping the tribe together. Yeah. But if they don't, what am I going to do?
Well, Judy, we'd like to ask all our guests a couple questions. Do you have a favorite Jewish holiday?
It's funny because I think all right. So I have to be clear that I think Passover's my favorite, but then I'm just going with the first 2-3 days.
Once the Seders are done, forget about it.
I love the Seders. I don't know. The food, it's gotten way better. When I was a kid, it was so bad. It was just fucking cardboard for 8 days. Yeah, I'm going to go with Passover. Passover.
Well, speaking of food, do you have a favorite, like, Jewish food?
Ah, okay. I am so Jewy with my food. I would say my favorite Jewy food that grosses my kids out is kishka.
Kishka,
okay.
I love kishka.
Good one. We have not heard that one before.
Love kishka.
But
now,
it grosses
of course,
your kids out, huh?
Yeah, they're like, what is that? I'm like, it's so fucking good. It's so fucking good. So I love kishka. I love herring and cream sauce with creamed onions. I mean, kishka is really... have you ever had kishka?
I don't know if I have.
Yeah, I've had some. My dad used to put it in the chillent he used to make.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
Who's your favorite Jew, Judy, of all time? It could be fictional. It could be biblical. It could be in real life.
My favorite Jew of all time? Oh, my God. That is the worst. I mean, my mother, probably. But I had to pick a famous Jew. RBG is one of my favorite Jews of all time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so funny because you have favorite. Barbara Streisand is one of my favorite Jews. I really love RBG. I mean, I love her.
Yeah.
She's dead. And now they're going to fucking replace her with this
horrible Amy.
It's for someone who's a judge. She's not opinionated. She has no opinions. Everything is like, I don't have an opinion. I can't opine about. Really? That's what you're fucking supposed to do. You write opinions, asshole. Sorry.
No, it's sad that she's filling,
Yeah, and
she's really is bad.
The other thing is that she's always like, I couldn't. Her reverence for Ruth Bader Ginsburg. If you revered her so much, then why are you going against her wishes to wait until we know who the next president is?
Right.
Well, Judy, we're so thrilled that you came on the
God,
show. We
Jews
really
and
appreciate
Jews
it.
Jews
we hope we could talk you into coming back again. Is there anything you want to plug?
Yes, please buy my book. Did you guys read my book? You really need to read my book. I know you didn't read my book.
I got to read it. I haven't read it.
No, you will love it. If you're a comic, you will love it. There's a lot of history of censorship and how we got to this point.
It's called Yes, I Can Say That.
Right. When they come for the comedians, we're all in trouble.
And let's hope they don't come for us too soon because I still have to get a career.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, yeah, buy Judy's book. Check out Judy on social media.
I'm at Judy Gold, JEWDYGOLD. And plus, I have a great podcast called Kill Me Now. So check that out and go to my website and buy my book and Gazai Gazan.
Yes. Well, thank you for coming on, Judy.
We appreciate it. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, we can't thank Judy Gold enough for coming on the show. We appreciate it so much. Check her out on social media. Check out her book.
Yeah, her book just came out. It's called Yes, I Can Say That. When they came for comedians, we are all in trouble. She also has a book out there from a few years ago called 25 Questions for a Jewish Mother. You can follow her on Twitter at Judy Gold, spelled JEWDY Gold.
You can follow me on social media at Jonathan Randall. Of course, you can follow the American Jew podcast across social media platforms, or just email us at AmericanJewPodcast@gmail.com.
You could always follow me on Instagram at BeatNickNudnik. And that is going to do it for this week's show. Chala at you boys.